The ghost doctor of Ume village. Once upon a time, there was a small village called Ume. The village was very quiet and surrounded by sticks, forest, and red earth. The people were simple and kind, but they had long memories and deep fears. One night, something strange happened. It was during the raining season. The sky was dark. The thunder roared like angry spirits. Everyone stayed inside, but one small mud house, an old woman named Mama Keji, was very sick. Her breathing was hard. Her skin was burning with fever. Her children cried. They had no money for a doctor. The nearest hospital was far, and the road were flooded. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Knock, knock, knock. They were afraid who would come out in such heavy rain. When they opened the door, a woman stood there. She was dressed all in white, and her face was completely covered with a white veil. She did not speak. She only looked at them and raised her hand as if asking them to let her come in. They let her inside. The woman walked quietly to Mama Keji and knelt beside her. She took a small bag from under her cloak and brought out herbs, roots, and a small bottle of oil. She began to walk, gently rubbing Mama Keji's chest, mixing herbs with water, whispering prayers that no one understood. Then, just quietly as she came, the woman stood up and left. By morning, Mama Keji sat up. Her fever was gone. Everyone was shocked. She was dying, one of her daughters whispered. Now she is healed. But the woman in white was gone. No one saw where she went. No one knew who she was. That was the first time she came. Soon, people began to talk. She came to our house too, said a farmer named Kola. My son had a cough and it wouldn't stop. After she came, he could breathe again. She cured my husband's leg, another woman said. He couldn't walk. Now he's back on the farm. But no one ever saw her face. No one knew her name. She only came at night, always alone, always silent, and always covered. People began to call her the ghost doctor. Some believed she was a spirit, others thought she was an angel. A few were afraid, saying maybe she was a witch. But most people were just grateful because the ghost doctor never asked for money. She treated everyone, young, old, rich, and poor. She would lift behind strange black stones, sometimes tied in cloth, sometimes wet with oil. No one knew what they meant. Still, the sick got better. In that same village, many years ago, there was a young girl named Amara. She was quiet, always alone. Her parents died when she was young and was raised by her old grandmother. She wore old clothes. Her eyes were big and sad, but the villagers did not like her. They said she was strange. They said she talked to herself. They said when she looked at someone, bad things happened. They blamed her when crops failed. They blamed her when a baby died. They even blamed her when it rained too much. One day, someone accused her of witchcraft. She cursed my cow, a man shouted. She looked at it, and the next day it died. That night, a group of angry villagers went to her house with sticks and fire. They dragged Amara and her grandmother out. They shouted, they spat, they said she must leave the village and never come back. No one stood up for her. No one defended her. She was just 12 years old and she disappeared into the forest. Years passed. No one spoke of Amara again. They said she died. Some even said she turned into a spirit. But now, a woman in white was walking the village at night, a healer, a helper. Some began to wonder. I saw her eyes, a young girl whispered one day. The ghost doctor, her eyes look like Amara's. That's not possible, her mother said. Amara is gone. But fear gripped in. What if? Could it be? Was the ghost doctor the same girl they had chased away? One night during the full moon festival, something happened. The village was full of light and laughter. Drums played, people danced. Suddenly, a scream came from the chief's house. The chief's only son had fallen, bitten by a snake. His body twisted, and foam came from his mouth. The people panicked. The chief cried out, "Get the ghost doctor!" The villagers began to run up and down. They don't know where they could find Amara because no one ever knew where she was coming from, nor where she had gone to. No one knew where Amara was staying. No one knew the direction she always come out from because she comes out suddenly and disappears suddenly. Just as the villagers were searching, she came out in white, silent and calm. She knelt by the boy and took out her herbs. As she walked, her veil slipped just a little, just enough for one old woman to gasp. "It's Amara!" The crowd froze. She looked up, her eyes full of sorrow. Yes, of course, it was Amara. She was shocked that someone could still recognize her after so many years. The crowd stood still. No one moved. No one blinked. The drums had stopped. The dancing stopped. Even the wind paused for a moment, holding its breath. The ghost doctor slowly rose from beside the chief's son, her veil now halfway off her face, showing her eyes, wild, gentle, and sad. Her cheekbones, her lips, all were familiar. It is Amara, the girl they chased away, the orphan they spat on, the one they called curse. Now she was standing before them, alive, grown, and saving the life of the very people who once wanted her gone. "It is her," the old woman said again, her voice shaking. "Amara has returned." Some villagers took a step back. Others stared in disbelief. One man whispered, "But she's supposed to be dead." Amara didn't speak. She simply lowered her face again and finished her walk. The boy's eyes fluttered open. He was breathing again. The chief looked at her, full of fear and confusion. You are the one who healed my son?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, shaking and trembling. Amara stood slowly, her veil hanging loosely. She looked at the people, not with anger, not with hate, but with deep sadness. She turned and walked away. No one followed her. They simply watched as she disappeared back into the shadows. The village of Ume was silent the next day. No one walked. No one sang. The children didn't play in the streets. The women didn't sweep their compound. Even the birds seemed quieter. Everyone was thinking about one thing: Amara. The girl that they had hated was the same woman who had saved them. How many had she healed? How many nights had she walked in the rain, helping those who would never have helped her? People remembered her small face from years ago, her torn clothes, the day they chased her away. "I called her a witch," one man whispered to his wife. "I told my children not to go near her. I slapped her," an old woman said with tears in her eyes. She had only come to ask for food. Now they all felt the same feeling deep inside: guilt. And something else: fear, because no one knew what Amara had become. The next night, a few brave boys followed a tree. They walked deep into the forest, guided by the moonlight, past the river, past the tall trees, past the place where people said spirits lived. As they walked and walked around the village, they discovered a very quiet and clearing place. They saw it, a small hut. Inside, soft candlelight flickered. They crept closer and peered through the cracks in the wall. Amara sat alone, no veil, her long hair flowing down her back. Her eyes were closed, and in her hands she held a black stone. It glowed softly in the dark. There were dozens of stones around her, each one carved with strange marks. The boys gasped. One of them stepped on a stick. Crack! Amara's eyes opened. She stood slowly and turned towards the door. The boys ran. The next day, the priest of the village, old Baba Ajayi, came to speak. He was the oldest man in Ume. His eyes were white with age, but his ears still had everything. She is not a ghost, he said to the villagers, and she is not cursed. The people gathered around him, eager to understand what he was talking about. When Amara was chased away into the forest, he said, I followed her. I wanted to see if she was safe, but I lost her tree. She was found, he continued, by something old, something powerful, a spirit, not evil, but ancient. Gasps came from the crowd. She made a deal, Baba Ajayi said. She asked for healing powers. She wanted to help people, even if they never helped her. The villagers were shocked. She did this for us? Someone asked. Yes, the old priest answered. But the spirits gave her one rule. She must never show her face. If she does, the healing will stop and her life will slowly fade. Now the villagers were truly afraid. They had seen her face. They had broken the rule, and worse, they had broken her heart again. The children who had once been healed cried when they heard the news. The women who had once been cured of sicknesses held their chest in sorrow. The chief, who owed his son's life to her, sat in silence, full of shame. She did nothing but good, he said, and we treated her like dirt. A small girl named Isioma, who had once been Amara's only friend, stood up. I want to go to her, she said. I want to say sorry. But Baba Ajayi shook his head. She will not listen now, he said. Her time is short. What do you mean? The people asked. She has shown her face. The spirit's gift is ending. 3 days later, the village woke up to the sound of crying. It was the teacher's wife. Her baby had fallen ill. No one knew what was wrong. The child wouldn't eat, wouldn't move. The small body burned with fever. She is dying, the mother cried. Please call her. Call Amara. The chief, full of tears, took a bell and walked through the village, ringing it. Amara, he shouted, please come out. Forgive us. Help us. The whole village knelt in the village square. Even those who had once said she was cursed, even those who had thrown stones, they all waited. And finally she came, this time not in white, but in blue, the color of mourning. She walked slowly, her steps were weak, her face was uncovered, but her eyes were bright. She walked to the sick child, knelt down, and took her small hands. And then, with her last strength, she whispered a prayer. The baby took a deep breath and smiled. Amara closed her eyes and never opened them again. They buried her at the edge of the forest under a tall tree. The whole village came. Men cried openly. Women wailed. Children brought flowers. They built a small hut beside her grave, a place for healing, for peace. Some say they still hear her voice in the wind. Some say when moon is full, they see as shadows walking through the village path. But one thing became clear: she was never cursed. Rather, she was a blessing to the village of Ume. The end. The moral lessons of this story is never to judge people wrongly or treat others with their current situation. The ghost doctor teaches that love is stronger than hatred, forgiveness is stronger than revenge, and destiny cannot be destroyed by rejection. A good heart will always shine. Thank you very much for watching the story. If you like the story, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, like, share, and comment. Press the notification bell so you'll get notified each time we post an interesting stories like this. Thank you very much. Bye.